What are some of the impacts that you've been able to make?
Well, some of the impacts, obviously, over the last... Well, the applications opened in February, didn't it?
Yeah.
So, obviously, we've had a relationship with Workplus. I've had a relationship with Workplus now. Even before, I worked for the Monkstown Boxing Club, my previous job. So, over 3.5 years, whatever it may be, I've had a relationship with Workplus, and I've seen the benefit of what you do in terms of like young people in schools and family members. It's just a traditional route of school, trade, or university. There's no... And I know trade and apprenticeship, you earn as you learn, and a lot of people were saying that and going, but actually I want to do finance, or I want to do something else. Why can't I earn while I learn? So whenever I was seeing what these were doing, and I was seeing these young people I was working with who were interested in marketing, or interested in finance, or interested in environmental stuff, I was like, this is a perfect opportunity for you. Whenever I was saying it to them, they're like, what are you talking about? I could earn 18,000 or whatever it is a year while doing my degree. How's that possible? So I actually worked alongside, I would say, as far as I'm aware, it's 12 young people from either the Monkstown and Rathcoole area and Abbey Community College, so different schools as well as young people within the area. And I made them aware of the opportunities that was out there that you could actually earn while learning. And young people was like, happy days, better than EMA or student finance. They were like, happy days, I'll try it. And so I sat with them. I helped them with their application, or actually setting up the portal was the first thing. Setting up the portal, helping them application, helping them sort of find what sort of roles they'd be interested, what A levels match with what they're currently wanting to do. And then whenever it came to the application, helping the application, but also some of them had interviews. So then it was doing the interview prep with them. Maybe, young people nowadays, I was always told growing up that no matter what job you're applying for, go in a suit. I don't know why. I was always told that. It was actually a youth worker told me that too. No matter what job you go for, go in a suit. And a lot of young people nowadays would go in jeans or a polo or whatever. So it was just about getting young people like ready, whether it be school trousers, school shirt and a nice tie, whatever, was getting them ready for the interview. And I was fortunate enough that almost every single one of those young people got a position within Workplus.
Brilliant.
Within Workplus's apprenticeship program. Whether it be, I know there was some with the AIB, there was some with the environmental place in Lisburn.
Yeah.
There's another one in town, but there's different ones. And those who didn't actually get a place, it wasn't because of like they didn't get it successful. It was that opportunity wasn't for them, and they went different avenues.
Yeah.
But through me helping them with the Workplus steps, the application, the interview, got them ready to then open up. Maybe Workplus isn't the only one offering it. Maybe there's other places offering it. And I know one young person in particular, he was able to get he's starting an electrician apprenticeship here.
Oh, great.
And because obviously doing A levels and all that sort of stuff, he's been able to, he's got the qualifications to start tech straight away, and he's been able to find a placement. But through the skills and the time that I spent with him for the application interview, now obviously they done it all. I'm just somebody who gives them a couple of words of advice. They take all the glory. It was them who done it. They're the ones who wrote the application. They're the ones who went to the interview and had all the nerves and the sweats before going. They'd done it all. And through them and doing it all, they've been able to get into some fantastic opportunities.
Yeah.
So they have, and that's just a small bit,
But it's so important. You've had personal experience of that, and now you're doing it for others.
And I like to be quite sort of modest in the sense of like, every youth worker says, and I hope every youth worker says, but I would like to say that if I have an impact on one young person's life, my career has been worthwhile. And that's what I like to think. But whenever a young person says, you help me with this, I like to be like, no, it wasn't me. And I think that's what all youth workers do. Is it's not us that do it, it's you. We just sort of steered you. A lot of these young people were involved in Monkstown Boxing Club doing other programs. It was getting the soft skills up, or maybe getting involved in the young men's group where their confidence was building, where they were meeting friends, whatever. I was just at the final hurdle.
Yeah.
There was maybe 10 other youth workers before me who were doing things with him on a Tuesday night, during school, whatever it may be, mentoring. I was just the last hurdle, and that's just the joys of me working with the employability aspect. But there's so much other youth workers within Monkstown Boxing Club that help that young person to that point.
Brilliant. So what are, in all of that, I'm hearing things like helping them build confidence, getting alongside them. Like, if someone's thinking about being a youth worker, like what are the qualifications and what are the skills that you need to be a great youth worker?
Yeah. So I'll start off with the qualifications, because in terms of the skills, it just depends on what area you want to go into in youth work. There's youth work interested in whether it be outdoors, whether it be community based, whether it be digital based. It could be so many alternative education. It could be so many different things that you get into. But in terms of the qualification, now in terms of there's OCN certified qualifications. They would go level 1, 2, and 3. For level 1 and 2 or level 2. You do the level 2 whenever you're 18, and you can essentially go part-time within youth work without qualifications. As long as you pass access and all that sort of checks. The level 2 can get you through. The level 3 is like if you want to be sort of part-time but have responsibilities. But there's also the avenues of progressing on. So you can do your level 4, which is a University of Ulster and Youth Action partnership. They do the level 4 certificate, which is sort of it's like a foundation degree in a sense, and then from there you can progress on the university.
On to the full degree then.
Also university and do the full degree. You can do, there's the postgrad route, there's the undergrad, but also that's the community youth work degree within Northern Ireland. But there's also different avenues. You can do it in Cardiff, you can do different things in Liverpool that all sort of relate and come back to what you want to do. Brilliant. But so it's not just restricted to here. It's a UK and Ireland wide thing you can do. I know Cork University do different things and stuff like that there. But if you want to just get into youth work and do it part time and sort of progress up the ladder, you can do it with a level 2. That's a 6-month course, maybe meeting up once a week. There's a certain amount of hours you have to do, learning hours you have to do to achieve it, and a booklet. But in terms of becoming a youth worker, it's achievable. I know for me, the youth work degree benefited so much because whenever I was in uni, I remember the first couple of weeks it's saying, relating the theory to practice. Like, no, it's just theory, being a student as you were. But whenever you were sitting in that lecture and the sort of lecture was going on about this, and you were sitting going, actually, I was working with that young person, this relates. And I think it helped me sort of flourish as a youth worker because I was able to do placements and engage in different things like that.
That's good.
I've done 3 different placements across 3 different years and stuff. And I worked across faith-based and restorative justice and restorative practices. And then I went on to the digital, which I ended up working in digital for 5 years.
That was with Bytes?
That was with the Bytes project. Yeah, I worked there for 5 years. Started off as a social media youth worker and went right up to specialist youth worker.
So what is a social media youth worker?
Social media youth worker then, that was slightly different. That was funded through Piece 4, but that was so essentially what you done was a lot of the digital sort of side. So like everything was on an iPad, or your engagement group was through something digital, probably through their phones, through iPads.
So not face to face then.
No, it was. It was face to face within a group, but the technology came along with it. So if I was out doing detached on the street, there was iPads there to make young people. So I could get young people doing maybe 6 sides of me on Canva on the street, engaging them that way. So we were engaging young people with technology based on where they were.
Right.
But the social media aspect of it was then I was part social media doing like the posts and the trends and all that sort of stuff, then doing the youth work. But
good. But a good way to get started, just like you did, is to volunteer initially. Is that gives you what did that do for you?
So essentially, I'm going to be honest with you. For me, I had my eye set on going and doing an apprenticeship, doing a trade, and I actually had a trade set up. I was going to be an electrician. I was going to do all these different things, and I was ready to do it. And then it was around about that same time that like I started getting introduced to these sort of sessions and groups, and just started off with like going to youth club to play football or going to youth club to get, and then next thing you know, you're in a group, you were doing these and you were going on residentials and you're doing all these trips. So I started volunteering maybe 1 or 2 nights a week. And so for me, like the benefits of that was like, obviously it was a bit weird at first because I was volunteering and had a bit of responsibility and all my friends were with me. So all my peers were with me and I was like 16, 17, not telling them what to do, but it was difficult starting off because you were in a position of sort of trust and different responsibilities and stuff like that there. But I'll give you in terms of like a context of what I actually done. So I've been lucky enough to be sort of varied in terms of what I've done in the last 10 years in youth work. So I started off originally in centre based. I was sent to base youth clubs across sort of North and West Belfast. Started off my own estate in Glencairn, went to Mount Vernon, done a couple of things in White City, Whitewell and all that. And then I progressed on to, so throughout that time, I did a couple of things with alternatives and all that sort of stuff, restorative practice. I've got a couple of qualifications of restorative practice. And that was my relationship through alternatives was one of the ones who got me in to youth work to begin with. And then through building up, and then obviously within the Bites project. But whenever I was within the Bites project, I worked across I worked across all Northern Ireland, whether that be in, we launched JJC to youth hostels, temporary accommodation, to young farmers, the drop-in provision and all that sort of stuff. To then coming up the Monkstown Boxing Club, where I'm a life skills coach in a community project. And I always remember one of my lecturers in university going, one day you'll figure out what you want to do in youth work. And that was one part of my journey in terms of what type of youth work do I actually want to do and how do I want to get into that stage. And that's what I was saying about earlier in terms of the different skills and different assets. You learn the skills throughout the time of doing it. And I think youth work's one of those fortunate trades is you learn by doing. You know, it's like learn how to drive. You know, you learn so much whenever you're out on the road by yourself. You learn well, you think you learn everything, but you learn more. You know, you learn so much whenever you actually get that license and you're out on the road. And I think that is the way we youth work. You know, you get your qualifications, but you learn so much by the situations that you deal with young people. You know, the behind the scenes stuff, whether it be trying to get funding and all that sorts of things, and you learn by that. And I think the skills to become a youth worker